I'd like to reconvene the meeting to public session, which started at 6:30, and we went into exec session, and now we'll reconvene. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Take a roll call. Mr. Addonizio? Here. Mr. Krupa?
Present.
Mr. MacArthur? Ms. Malloy? Here. Mr. Sanfilippo?
He won't be here this evening.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Wondrak? Here. Ms. Swaniak?
Here. At this time, I am going to tender my resignation effective immediately. It's been a pleasure to serve. I have some serious medical issues in my family that I'm dealing with, and unfortunately, I have to part ways. So I wish you all the best, and hopefully I'll see you in another capacity soon.
Since the board as convened, I'm counting first of all, we have 5 board members present. So the meeting certainly can continue. However, now that we do not have either a president or a vice president, the board is going to need to, at least right now, have a motion for a president pro tem, or at least someone to run or conduct the meeting for this evening until we can fill the vacancy that is available and then refill the board president position, which we were planning on doing after we filled the vacancy this evening. So I would look to the board secretary to conduct the rest of this meeting right now, as we would normally do so in a reorganization meeting, asking for nominations for president pro tem at this point in time.
Okay, at this time, I'll take nominations for President Pro Tem to run the remainder of this meeting.
I nominate Ralph.
Second.
Any other nominations? Take a roll call. Mr. Addonizio?
Yes.
Good. Start. Mr. Krupa?
In favor, yes.
Ms. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Number 7 on the agenda, recommended approval to accept the resignation of Allison Connolly as president and member of the Wall Township Board of Education. Could I have a motion for that?
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, or do we need a roll call? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call, Mr. Smythe.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Ms. Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Mr. Addonizio?
Yes. Okay. At this time, we are going to adjust our agenda because of concerned parents in the audience. We are going to jump to number 17 and get an update from our superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. As many of you are aware, I sent an email to parents in the district today and provided the same information to the news media. I will also read that information, the same information, into the record tonight. Dear parents, I'm sure that you are aware from the news and social media that the district was making repairs to the trailers at Central School this summer. There is a great deal of misinformation being circulated. I emailed the parents of the 5th grade students at Central School yesterday and informed them of our plans. I'm sending this email to all parents because even though your child may not attend Central and might not be affected by the plan, you are probably reading about the issue and seeing it on the news. I feel that you should know what is happening in your school district. This is what I sent to the 5th grade parents at Central School. Although we anticipate that the repairs to the trailers/cottages will be complete by early next week, at this time, Mrs. Antonello, the principal, and I have determined that the best course of action is to relocate the 5th grade classes into the interior of the building so as not to delay the teachers who are anxious to get their classrooms ready for the start of school and to ease the concerns of parents and students. The planned scope of work for the trailers was to remove and replace the damaged T11 wood siding with new wood sheathing, remove the deteriorated wood trim, and install vinyl siding on the outside of the trailers. As work started on the trailers in July, it was determined that there was damage to the wood framing on the first trailer. Additional investigative work was done to identify other areas that may need additional repairs, in addition to replacing the wood siding. The holes in the siding around the trailers were made by the contractor so that the condition of the framing under the siding could be checked. Although there were a number of soft spots in the wood siding, there were no holes in the siding prior to starting the work this past July. The damage to the wood joists on the front trailer is the most severe framing damage, and it appears to be limited to that location. Due to the change in the work scope, additional quotes were obtained to include the repairs needed to the wood framing. The district's architect and engineer have been on site to inspect the damaged framing and have advised the contractor on how to make repairs. Although the additional damage to the framing has delayed the project, the work is scheduled to be completed prior to the start of school. That work includes repairing damaged wood framing and siding, replacing damaged trim boards, installing vinyl siding on 2 sides of each trailer, and replacing damaged wood siding and painting the siding on the other 2 sides of each trailer. Additionally, air testing has been performed, and those results will be on the website as soon as they are available. We have also asked the Monmouth County Health Department to come and view the trailers. When the trailers are deemed ready, they will be used for other instructional purposes. The 5th grade will not be returned to the cottages this year. They will be relocated to rooms 202, 203, 204, and 205. Here is an update for today. The health department did visit the site, and they will be providing us with a report regarding their assessment. The executive county superintendent for Monmouth County also visited the site and reviewed our plan. We have not yet received the report from the air quality tests. The building inspector determined that some of the work being done required an additional permit. Therefore, some of the work is delayed while the architect provides the floor plans necessary to apply for that permit. Please know that nothing is being done to cover up the damage to the trailers. In fact, some of the work of the contractors has been to expose the extent of the damage so that a viable plan could be developed by our architect and engineer. The photos that you have seen on social media and in the news are of the trailers during the renovation and repair. They are not photos of the trailers as they were in June when they were being used. The trailers may be used as instructional spaces in the future when they are deemed to be safe and healthy. Until then, the principal has developed a building use plan that does not involve the trailers. Thank you for your concern for our staff and students.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to open up public comment. Number 20, only pertaining to Central School trailer/cottages. So if you'd like to come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Samantha Bassett. I live in Wall Township. I am speaking tonight on behalf of myself and other concerned parents of incoming fifth graders at Central School. On August 15th, several parents were at Central School and were shocked by the conditions of the trailers. Photographs and videos were taken of extensive damage. My husband and I took a ride over to the school to see the condition of the trailers for ourselves. They actually looked far worse in person than in photographs. The wood is entirely rotted out. There is visible mold. There is obviously an infestation of carpenter ants and what looks like termite damage. It appeared that one of the cinder block footings, which is not even a real poured footing, is leaning. The floor jousts have extensive rotting. I emailed Mrs. Antonello and Mrs. Dyer with my concerns. I emailed the full Board of Ed and attached a few photos to inform them of the situation. Other parents emailed or called as they went to look at the trailers over the weekend as well. Mrs. Dyer, in your email to all Central School parents from today, you said these photos are not of the trailers as they were in June when they were being used and that misinformation is being spread. Since the trailers had not yet been opened up, how do you know what was actually underneath the framing, flooring, and siding in June? There was an ant problem last year as students were told they could not put their backpacks or lunches on the floor or they would become infested. Are you seriously suggesting that all of this rot, damage, and infestation happened only in July and August? How can you know that? Do you have photos from underneath the framing, flooring, and siding from June? The minutes of the F&F committee report from May 2019 state that as part of the long-range facility plan, a discussion was had on the cottages at Central School. It was, quote, felt the repairs cannot wait and estimates will be provided so work can begin over the summer, end quote. Your email, dated August 19th, states that the plan scope was to remove and replace damaged T111 wood siding, remove the deteriorated wood trim, and install vinyl siding on the outside of the trailers. So clearly, some of these issues existed while students and teachers were housed there. Who is responsible for the maintenance of the trailers, and how were they allowed to get into such a state in the first place? The July report of the F&F committee meeting states that, quote, renovation of Central School trailers will be done by a co-op vendor for $38,000. This is scheduled to start on July 10th, end quote. What vendor was hired and scheduled to begin on July 10th? Parents received an email from Robin Zawodniak, now former Board of Education Vice President, on August 17th, indicating that the Board of Education takes the well-being of students seriously and had agreed for repairs to begin over the summer. She informed us that work began on August 16th and is scheduled to be completed prior to the start of school. The only reference to the Central School trailers in the August report of the F&F committee meeting states, quote, renovations of Central School trailers will be done by the start of school, end quote. There is a glaring discrepancy between the work that was supposed to start on July 10th and the work that actually started on August 16th. We would like to know why there is such a discrepancy and why work was not immediately started after school ended. In your emails, you indicate it was due to the scope of the work changing and needing additional quotes. Was the Board of Education informed of this? How many contractors have assessed the trailers? Was one contractor hired to begin July 10th and taken off the job? Why was the contractor taken off the job? Has any professional that has been on site given their opinion that these trailers can in fact not be fixed and should rather be removed and replaced entirely? A pest control truck, Alliance Commercial Pest Control, was at the school on August 15th. What were the findings and recommendations of this company? If you knew additional work was needed, why didn't you get the permits that were needed for the additional work you were doing? Why are people working at this site at all, since according to your email, you have not received a report from the health department or the results of any air quality testing? We rely on the elected officials of the Board of Education to make decisions in the best interests of our children. They cannot perform their duties unless they are given complete and accurate information. Did Mr. Smythe and Mr. Romano explain to the F&F committee members the true extent of the damage and issues at the trailers? Does any F&F committee member here feel that they were given an accurate representation of the damage once they actually saw pictures of their condition? If you are not aware, I hope you will find out why. Where did the communication and transparency break down? It is now a little over 2 weeks until the start of school. The parents of the 5th graders at Central are united in the opinion that our children will not be stepping foot in these trailers. We are asking the Board of Ed members to take an active oversight role and to put the safety and health of our children first. It is clear and concerning that you cannot rely on the information given to you in committee meetings. You must request reports and recommendations of an independent structural engineer, mold remediation specialist, air quality testing, and an exterminator before any child or educator spends any time in these trailers. We will not just take your word for it that the repairs have been done. The trailers were supposed to be a temporary solution. You have had over 10 years to come up with a more permanent solution for the overcrowding issue at Central. We have 5 incoming kindergarten classes this year, so this is an issue that is not going away. If you intend to house the 5th graders in trailers for the foreseeable future, we are asking the Board of Ed to tear down and replace these trailers that are infested and falling apart. You have come up with a plan for 5th graders to be moved inside the school this year. I hope that our principal, Mrs. Antonello, and our 5th grade teachers will receive all the support and resources they need to make this work. Mrs. Dyer, in your email from August 19th, you said that when the trailers are deemed ready, they will be used for, quote, other instructional purposes, end quote. Would you clarify what that means? Who will make the determination that they are safe and healthy environments? Do you plan for the 5th graders to go right back in next year? Will mold, air quality, and pest testing be done frequently and continuously as long as you continue to put students and teachers in trailers? What are the additional costs of the repairs? Is it truly cost-effective to repair these trailers rather than get new ones? Board of Education members, knowing what you know now, are you truly comfortable repairing these trailers rather than replacing them? This would not be acceptable for your own children. Please do the right thing for our children and tear these down. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to do something a little different since I do have the gavel, and there are some things that were brought up that certainly could be addressed, and I'd turn it over to Mr. Smythe in regards to what kind of tests are being done and things of that nature.
Okay, with regard to some of the questions that were asked, the quote that was originally obtained to perform the work over the summer was obtained in June. It was a co-op vendor as indicated in the F&F minutes. The contract did start in July. It was the first, July 10th. The contractor started the work, and the scope of work was to remove damaged T111 siding along the perimeter of both trailers and replace with plywood, and then to install vinyl siding. As the work commenced, it was initially found that there was some damage to the, it's called the rim joist, the wood framing for the floor. That resulted in getting an updated quote from that vendor to perform the additional work, or at least to get square footage price so that we can have a revised estimate. We took a worst case scenario on what the cost would be. It was approximately $60,000 on a worst case scenario, and that was the number that was included in our long range facility plan. As work commenced again, it was approximately July 18th, I believe, that work commenced again, and as more of the siding, T111, was removed, there was additional damage. The one area that's been open on the first trailer, the contractor was not comfortable in continuing with the work. So we separated ways with that contractor. I don't want to say that, we removed them off the job. It was a mutual decision that they were not moving forward with the job. So, with the idea of trying to get it completed prior to the start of school, we solicited additional quotations from other contractors to perform the work.
How many?
So we continued with that process. We received a quote from one particular contractor, but he could not ensure that the work would be completed over the summer. We obtained 3 quotes for the work to be completed. The final quote was from the contractor that's been on site, HTHI, who provided a quote, indicated that he would be able to complete the repairs prior to the start of school. And that quote was received the first week in August, and work was originally scheduled to be started August 14th. However, due to weather and scheduling, they did not start until August 16th. We contacted, after they started their work, again, removal of the T111, removal of the perimeter beam, identified the condition at the end of the floor joist. So that afternoon, we contacted our district's architect and asked the architect as well as the engineer to come out and review the condition of the floor framing, which they came out on Monday morning. They proposed a solution for the framing conditions that were evidenced to the contractor. They're going to be preparing details for those repairs to be made, and the scope immediately after that was to expose the rim joist or the outside floor joist around the perimeter of both trailers to see the condition of those joists, to see how much of the rim joist or perimeter joist would need to be repaired in its entirety. So for the building permit, we could identify on a plan, or the architect could identify on a plan, where exactly those details would be applied, or where exactly the wood framing would be replaced and or repaired. And that is currently taking place. That's why the contractor continued to work today. He was removing the siding so that the extent of any deterioration of the framing underneath could be identified, and the architect could include that in the plan moving forward.
Could you also just give a little background on the issue of permits?
Okay.
What
The
that was
initial
about?
thought with the permit process, because the scope of work was replacing the T111 siding with plywood, which is replacing in kind, and the scope of the work was installing vinyl siding, that permits were not necessary. However, as the project evolved into to the extent that it is now becoming, with the framing needing to be repaired or replaced, obviously required the need for a permit, and the district applied for the permit, I want to say today. But again, the permit can't be completed without knowing the extent of the damage that is existing around the perimeter of the trailer. So as the siding continued to be removed today, that information is being provided to the architect so that they can prepare the plan that needs to be submitted for the permit to be issued. And the goal is for that to take place tomorrow.
So, in regards to something else you touched on, in the scope of, is this effective, or is this cost effective? At what point, so the contractors are peeling back the layers, at what point would there be an evaluation that says, hey, you know what, it's not worth putting good money into this, it would be better off to get something else?
The architect reviewed the work to date, as well as the engineer. The repairs, are, I don't want to use, they're not significant, but in the scheme, I guess you could take a percentage of replacement. Those trailers were put in the summer of 2007. They were $340,000 or $50,000 to install. They were used at the time when they were purchased by the district and installed. So the replacement value of 2 classroom trailers, I wouldn't be able to provide that dollar value. We're looking to complete the work we budgeted $60,000 on the long-range facility plan. Our current contract is $33,000. However, based on the review by the engineer and the architect and expanding the investigative work to identify any replacement of the perimeter beam that needs to be done, there's going to be additional cost associated with it. But, we anticipate doing the work for between $40,000 to $50,000.
That's what we anticipate, but we know sometimes things are, there's always overruns and things we don't see.
Well, the current
So-
contract is 33, so
Right.
I'm trying to anticipate those overruns.
Right.
Investigated how much it would
I'm sorry, you'll be able to come up in a second. So we're not going to call out. We're going to do it civilized. Everybody's going to get their questions answered tonight, even if we have to stay here until tomorrow, because it's important. So now that all the classes are being moved back inside, would it be worth it for us to go out because we want additional space and price out a new trailer instead of putting money into a trailer like this and maybe doing it correctly where now it's on a concrete slab as opposed to up on cinder blocks the way it is now? Because the way it is now, I don't think, maybe it was supposed to be good for a couple of years, but I mean, 2007, we're 2019, that's a long time. And sometimes things like this, they overstay their usefulness. So that's a concern I have, because I did go out there and I sent an email to the board. I looked at it. I saw what was going on. I had never walked around that before. Sat through all the committee meetings where there were discussion last year about I believe it was last year, about the gutters where there was rot in the soffit from the gutters. They were coming apart and we fixed those. But never knew the extent of what it was, never knew what the underside of this looked like. I mean, so now knowing all this, would it be better for us to scrap these and get maybe one unit out there to fulfill maybe some of the what's possibly proposed to go out there and put it in correctly?
I wouldn't be in a position to answer that question. If you want to stop the work from moving forward and bring the architect in and have him provide cost estimates to the board, that could be a solution.
So,
I mean, the board was in the long-range facility plan. The estimate was $60,000. That was
well, and that was before we got a peek inside or underneath and what was going on. And I mean, clearly there's more going on than was ever alluded to.
well, there was more going on beneath the siding. So now that the T111 siding has been removed, it's becoming evident.
Right. But, and as I said to you, siding running into the dirt should have never have been like that because it rots and the bugs come up and they go into the wall. So that was a mistake that's been there for a number of years. So that's why I'm saying maybe
That's the way
now
it was designed and constructed.
doesn't make it right.
Okay,
So-
however.
No,
that-
right.
so-
So no,
Ralph.
I understand that. So what I want to ask everybody
question.
is, what do you think? Should we stop the work on this?
Well,
Save-
I have a couple of questions,
Sure,
Ralph.
go ahead.
Thank you. So, Brian, the $340,000, was that for both trailers and installed?
Yes.
Okay, and that was 2007. And I know the long-range facility plan, or one of our plans, discusses possibly doing a referendum. So depending on the cost, I mean, do we want to make that decision, or would it be part of a larger project? Do we need those trailers for this school year and next school year?
I think that's a question for you, Ms. Dyer.
We can get by without the trailers this year. It certainly is going to inconvenience some of the staff, and people who are not used to sharing instructional spaces will have to share instructional spaces. So that would certainly be an option. The other thing to consider is that these are considered temporary classrooms. So talking about replacing them with additional or replacement temporary classrooms is something that will have to be approved by the Department of Education. They might not be approved as temporary classrooms, or we might not receive approval to continue to have temporary classrooms there. We might have to have a referendum where we would have to build a permanent structure that would add on to Central School. And I don't know if the board is interested in doing that right now, and it would certainly require a referendum.
Did you have any others? No. So, okay, so at this point, I want to get a feeling from everyone here on the board before we go back to public comment.
Wait, one more question.
Go ahead.
How much have we spent so far?
Well, that was for the entire job, so if we were to stop at this point, it would be the work that was done to date. Now, as another option, or as a balance, is to address only one trailer and not address a second trailer,
Well, I think,
just as a discussion.
no, right, and my feeling on that is that these were temporary trailers put in a temporary fashion, and at some point, there's going to be other problems. I mean, putting them up on cinder blocks, not even poured footings, I mean, that's very temporary. I mean, this obviously was designed to get the district through a rough patch, but for whatever reason, that rough patch just continued. So now that we're looking at other things, and we seriously want to address what's going on, and people are made aware of the need, certainly with the COA housing coming down the pike and all the other things the school system's going to be looking at, I want to open up to the board again. Do you think we should continue with the work, or should we stop the work and explore other options of something more permanent done correctly, or down the road with the talk of a referendum, possibly adding classrooms onto the building?
Which, that would be the permanent solution, right?
Yes, or if there was another solution where, again, we pour a correct footing and we put a new trailer on it,
But
cottage
that would be
trailer.
temporary,
Well,
because they're approved as temporary for 3 years, and then on a yearly basis
okay,
after
so
that.
then
A more permanent temporary.
more permanent temporary, but then I guess the true solution would be to look to build additional classrooms onto the school at some point. So, well, hold on, please, don't yell out, but the district is doing a demographic study as part of what we're doing, and there probably will have to be some redistricting, because where the lines are and where kids are going right now might not make sense, and especially with some of the developments being built, as we all know, we're gonna have to do something.
Your question wasn't answered, Ralph,
So,
about stopping whether to
Well,
stop it or not.
we're
Why
getting
don't
there.
we
Like,
finish public comment and then continue?
well, because. Okay.
No, we're not done. I'd like to go over some items that we found out today, and I think that you
All right.
should all know them. Then decide.
Is there any motion from the board right now, or anything of that nature?
I would like to add, safety is number one concern for the children, for our staff, for everybody. That's why I would be more than satisfied to say stop the work, make sure that area is secure, so that nobody gets hurt.
So, Mr. Sullivan, is that a motion to stop the work on this project?
I make a motion, we stop the work.
And it's seconded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Let's be clear
Oh.
what the motion is.
Oh.
The motion is what?
Stop the work effective tomorrow.
How about this? Motion to stop the project.
I'm sorry, thank you. A motion to stop the project, take those steps necessary to secure the site in a safe manner pending a final determination on the project.
What, they would still be working to make it safe?
Motion to stop the project and take the appropriate steps to secure the site in a safe manner pending a final determination. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, I will agree to that.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none? Mr.
Yes.
Smythe? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Mr. Wondrich?
So you're going to stop the work. We don't really have anything from the architect or the engineer. We're just talking into the air.
Well, no, we're going to stop the work. They're going to secure the buildings and not leave them exposed the way they are.
Well, that's okay.
Right? And then we'll see what the reports say,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna go back,
That's
and
what
more
I
than
want.
likely, we're gonna have to look seriously at doing a real project on that building, something that should have been done way back when.
That's okay.
But now we're left to deal with it, and we're gonna deal with it, because that's what we have to do.
The point of this is you're going to secure the.
Yes, the secure the site is because there's children out in the playground, there's people that go over there, walk their dogs. We don't want anybody to get hurt. So that's part of
Right,
the
I
important
agree
part of
with
this,
that.
and along with the work stopping. All right, we have motion second, discussion closed. Mr. Smythe, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Krupa,
Yes.
Ms. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak. Yes. Mr. Adenizio.
Yes.
There you go.
All right. Motion carried. All work will stop on trailers. There will be no students in the trailers, and we will start exploring other options. Public comment is still open in regards to this. Anybody else would like to come up?
Hi, my name is Betsy Cross. I live in Wall Township. I'm really not sure why you even had to vote on that. I mean, the work was stopped. The job was shut
No.
down today. You didn't have a permit?
That
No, no.
some of the work stopped, and I'm not eating up your minutes.
I know.
Everybody's going to get their say tonight. But what was stopped, as Mr. Smythe described, there was work that was going to be done replacing the T111 that we did not need a permit for, but it became more evasive. So the building department said, now you need a permit. That's why
Right.
that
Yeah,
stopped.
I couldn't do that at my house. If I wanted to do that, I would never be able to. They'd come over. If I kept working like they were working today, I'd be fined. Something is terribly wrong here.
Excuse me, because I just want to clarify, it wasn't that they said now you needed a permit. We were not originally submitting a permit. There was discussion that wasn't necessary based on the scope of work. As the scope of work evolved, it was submitted.
Submitted this morning. When did you exactly know that you needed to put
Nobody's
in for a
disagreeing with
building
that.
permit?
Submitted this morning, we met
When
with the
did you
building
know,
department,
Mr. Smythe,
and the
you
building
needed a building
department
permit?
allowed us to work through the day doing the investigative work to identify the areas that needed to be repaired. I mean,
When did you know, Mr. Smythe, that you needed to put in for a building permit? I'd like the date and the time.
No. So
No, Ralph, why don't you make him answer that? That's very, very important.
what we're going to do here is we're going to have a conversation. We're not going to talk over people. We're not going to be rude to people. Mr. Smythe, we knew from the get-go that we did not need a permit.
No,
And you
I'm
said that.
talking about
Hold
when you
on.
knew we needed a
Wait, wait.
permit.
So when did the work reach the point where they said we need a permit? Was that what came up today?
it was when the work commenced at the end of last week, the beginning of this week.
Okay. And when was the permit filed?
What's the exact date and the
Filed
time?
today.
Okay, so, all
When
right.
did he know? Thursday? Was that Thursday the
just-
15th you knew?
He
But
just,
Just as a clarification, we could not submit the proper paperwork to obtain a permit without the work that was continued today to identify the areas that needed to be repaired. So we
This is
could not
something you
have
should
had
have
a
known
permit
months
issued
ago,
without
when you
the
went out for
investigative
bids.
work that
Okay.
was done.
so the work today was exploratory to see what was actually going on.
And it was acceptable to be done without the permit.
Okay, can I go
Because
over?
nothing was being replaced. It was
Correct.
only coming apart.
Okay, can I go over my questions?
Yes.
And then, okay, thank you. What I don't understand is, I put in for contracts and I got nothing back. We have nothing in terms of a contract from the vendor working there. I put in for a contract for the prior company, RIS. I got nothing back. Why don't we have contracts? I asked for the bids, the RFPs, the quotes, whatever you want to call them, Mr. Smythe. Where are they? Why didn't we know all this? Didn't we have these companies come in and walk around the property and pull off a piece of wood and say, oh, this is what we need to do? What did they do? Just stand outside, or did you send them a picture? How did we not know until last Thursday of all the damage that was here? You budgeted $60,000 in February, because I can see it, and you're transferring over tonight another, I think, $40,000. So right now, you've moved over, we now have $99,000 in the budget, and it's in a transfer, and it's in two accounts, and you move them, and you call them Central School Trailers. So you know something's going on, because you just transferred over more money, and it's $99,000. So I'd like to know how you came up with that number, and the contractor did tell me today that it was going to be extra money, and how much extra money? Like, why don't we know that it's going to be extra money, Mr. Smythe? What do you know? And I think Mr. Romano is here tonight. We need to know what's going on here, because what was happening is not right. Can you tell me why the exterminator was there on the 15th? Can you answer that question right now, Mr. Smythe? What was he there for? Why was the
Okay,
exterminator called?
If we're going to take a moment to address some of the comments or questions you're making.
Yep, that'd be great.
Contracts, nothing back. You requested a contract of the contractor that's working out on the site. A contract with the school district is a purchase order that you have with the school district. A purchase order, which is the contract, was provided to you today when you stopped in the office.
Right, 'cause you didn't
refused it
return
and took
anything.
a photograph of it with your
Yes,
phone.
I
So to
did.
say that you did not receive the contract.
I don't call that a
is-
contract, it's called a purchase order. That's not called a
Which is a
contract.
contract with the school district.
No, it's not a contract. A contract would be a contract outlining everything you were going to
With
be
regard
doing
to
at the
transferring
property.
$99 million, that's in.
99 million, 99.
99,000, it's an inaccurate statement. There was not 60,000 budgeted. That was the amount that was estimated for the cost of the project. That was in the long-range facility plan.
I agree, 60,000. You transferred over, let me read the two
right,
amounts. It's in
Ms.
your
Cross,
report.
please
No,
let
no,
him
no,
fi-
I want to
please
be
let him
specific.
finish-
No,
please
he's
let him
not.
finish his answer.
I want to tell him where he transferred the money.
Well,
From
he-
account 420007, he had 30,000 in there, and he now transferred over, he transferred another 35 in it, so there's 60, another total of 65. Then he took from another account, 420021, and he took out, he had 64, he moved 30, and now there's 34 in there. I total those two numbers, it's $99,000, and it's in attachment B1, and you can all look at it tonight.
Okay. The $60,000 estimate that is in the
I'm
long-range
not
facility.
talking about that. I'm talking about what you just transferred. You transferred over more money, and there's
Ms. Cross,
99,000.
please let him finish. We're trying hard to get questions answered, but let him, I understand you have frustration. Let him answer the question, and then if there's a follow-up, we'll go from there, okay?
You cannot include the $60,000 number that was included on the long-range facility plan. That has nothing to do with the budget.
I'm not including it. I'm asking why you just transferred over more money, and now there's $99,000 budgeted for the central school trailer renovation. It's Exhibit B1, and anyone can look at it in the report if they have a copy.
What is the additional money that was transferred over, Mr. Smythe?
One
Money
was,
transferred over for the project, because the original project, the other project that comes into play is the masonry repairs at the Wall Primary School. So funds were used from that for the purposes of the trailers.
oh, so now, but if I didn't ask that tonight, we weren't going to be told? No, that's right, Mr. Gross. We weren't going to be told. We're going to be left in the dark, and I had to go through 200 pages to find it, but I found it. I'd like to also go over when you originally bought the trailers back in 2007, Mr. Smythe. You had just become our business administrator. And I do see that we purchased a $1.4 million bond, a five-year agreement. But the attachment, it says Exhibit A attached, is not attached. So I can't see exactly what you were paying. I was trying to find the payments for the trailer, but I don't see them. So I'm going to ask for those documents, because we need to go back to the very, very beginning here, because something is terribly wrong. On Thursday, you did hire an exterminator, and it was for ant extermination, and I have a copy of it. I don't know why that you didn't tell us that the interior and the exterior was infested with ants. I have a copy of the report. I will give it to anybody that wants it. So why was that not told to us? That we had to dig and get a copy of it. So it's ant infestation, and you had them over there. So I'd like to know about that. Why didn't you disclose that, Ms. Dyer, in your letter to everybody? I'd also like to know, Dory, you wrote me back last night and you said we have a great plan in place, the parents are going to love it. If you knew the plan in place, I can read it. Okay, I'll read it. Let me get it. I guess my point is, Dory, why were you asking questions if you knew what this great plan was that we had in place? And if Ms. Dyer had such a great plan in place, she would have been running out to CBS News yesterday to tell them about it. She wouldn't have been hiding behind a double door asking Kim Keeter not to let the people in. So I don't think that was a good,
Ms. Cross,
great
do
plan
you
that
have,
you have.
do you have questions? Because that's
do.
what I want to see answered here. I want to see
I do.
questions answered.
Okay. I'm looking at the July 1st, 2019 Finance and Facility Minutes. All it says is renovation of Central School trailers will be done by a co-op vendor, unnamed. I would like in the minutes always who the co-op vendor is.
That wasn't provided at that time.
I know. Why wasn't it provided, Mr. Smythe? Why did you want
Ms.
to keep
Cross,
that from the
que-
board?
Ms.
No,
Cross.
I found out who
All
it
right,
was,
Ms.
Ralph.
Cross,
I've been doing
no,
a lot of digging in 2 days.
I understand you do a lot of digging, but this is a meeting.
Right.
We go to the chair, and then we direct out from the chair who's going to answer. We can't badger people here.
Okay. All
Thank
I'm
you.
saying is, when you write up minutes, you should be sitting in the meeting saying, Brian, who is the co-op vendor? 38,000. Do you
The
have a
reason why
layout?
was we didn't have him yet. We were looking at the co-op vendors.
It says for 38,000.
Right, and that's what we were looking to spend.
No. Will be done by a co-op vendor for 38,000. What, you told them, this is how much we have, 38,000, can somebody come in at that? But what if that didn't cover? It obviously didn't cover everything because Brian Smythe just transferred over, we're at 99,000 as of tonight.
Well, but we know that's not all for the trailers, that's also the primary
The
school.
exterminator,
No, that's for the primary school.
it says CS trailer renovation.
But he just said it was also for the
Are
primary
you
school.
referring to the B1, the transfer?
Yeah.
It's $30,000 is the transfer on B1. You don't add them together. One's a debit from one account, then you credit another account.
I see 2 transfers.
Okay.
Okay, I see 2. I see 1. Okay. Let's go over, I guess, nothing to me is just making sense with what has happened here. And to me, somebody needs to be held accountable because we almost had people maybe possibly getting injured. Now, we had a free company, Greenworks, come in today on the site and said they would come in and do free test mold samples. The mayor, Kevin Orender, was all for it. The Board of Health said, I'm fine with it. And
Ms.
Cheryl
Cross,
Dun- No.
We're a public entity. We can't just have people come in and do work for free. It doesn't work like that. We need their qualifications and certifications. We just can't let somebody come in and do it. So I know it sounds
Nothing
good,
has come
but
back
we
right
can't.
now of who you've even hired. I mean, we don't have a contract. We don't have anything else. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay. This is what you wrote, Dory. They have a good plan to put parents' mind at ease. Ms. Dyer will be emailing parents. Things do not always happen as quickly as we would like, but they do have a good plan of action that's easily satisfy the parents and be good for the students. That's what you wrote. You didn't say anything. What was the plan? You just shut it down tonight, and you're asking silly questions.
Well, at the beginning of the meeting, the plan was done. All right. Ms. Cross, questions?
You didn't have a plan.
Ms. Cross, we are not, Ms. Malloy, we are not going to go back and forth. We are not going to argue.
If it was a great
No,
plan,
we are not going to argue.
you would have been out in the public. Your next set of minutes is on August 5th, and all you mention is one sentence: renovations of Central School trailers will be done by the start of school.
Absolutely, and that's all that was discussed.
You had a vendor come in, there were problems, you didn't agree.
All right, Ms. Cross,
Now you have to go out for more
all right.
quotes. It shouldn't be one sentence in F and F. If I'm not sitting there, I shouldn't have to spend 2 days to figure it out. Your minutes have to be better.
Okay, we can't vote.
Stop the meeting. You don't have a quorum. One of your members just left.
Oh, yeah. Right.
We can continue to listen, but we cannot take a vote. That's correct.
And she walks out. My issue is somebody needs to be held accountable, and I think it's going to be Brian Smythe. I'm not sure why Brian Smythe got a raise in July, but everything just fell
Ms.
through the
Cross,
cracks here.
Ms. Cross.
No,
we
who
are not-
here thinks that Brian
Ms.
Smythe
Cross,
did
we
a
are not
good
taking
job, that he
surveys.
deserved a raise?
Ms.
Anybody
Cross.
think he deserved a raise? Raise your hand.
All right, Ms. Cross, do you have any more
Who
questions?
doesn't think Brian
Do you have any more
Smythe
questions, Ms.
should
Cross?
be here and should be held accountable if this had to do with
Ms.
him?
Cross, you
No,
are now.
somebody needs to be
we're,
held
we're
accountable.
now at 11 minutes. So far, the board has taken action. We have stopped any kind of construction work at the site. We are not going to move forward with using those. That's what we have done. So everything that has happened up to this point The board members here tonight took care of it, so that's not going to be an issue going forward.
But when did
And
the board find out about all these problems? When did each board member know? Or was the information?
We found out in the last couple days.
Yeah, when? Like, was it hidden from you as well, and then you found about it on CBS News and Channel 12 News?
Maybe what the board will do is we're going to do our own investigation, possibly, into what's going on, and we'll figure things out to the satisfaction
I don't think the
of
board should
everybody.
do it. I think the comptroller's office, somebody
All right.
should come in and
Ms. Cross,
investigate
do you have
what
any
went wrong
additional
here.
questions? Because
I
there
would
are
like
other
an
people here.
outside agency to investigate what went wrong here, and somebody
Well,
needs to be held accountable. This never should have gotten to this point.
Okay. Any
Never-
additional questions?
never, ever
'Cause
should have
right
gotten
now,
to this
you're at
point.
12 minutes.
I'm
And
not
that's-
sure why Ms. Dyer keeps calling these places cottages. They
Because
resemble
that's
nothing
what they've
like
been referred
cottages.
to for years.
Okay, that's fine.
Some of us say
It-
trailers, some say
okay,
cottages.
It reminds me of Guantanamo Bay, when I
Okay,
took
Ms.
looked
Cross,
at those
we're not-
pictures in the middle,
Okay.
and there's no back doors on them.
Ms.
Is
Cross,
that,
do
will
you-
you
do
stop
you have
talking
any-
over me, Ralph? Yes, I'm talking about safety issues. There's no
There
doorknob.
do you realize
Ralph, will
there
you
is
let me
no issue
finish?
anymore? These things are
Ralph,
non-existent.
I want to go over this. There's no back doors on them, and Cheryl Dyer has a back
No.
door on hers, and I want to know why hers has a back door and the other ones don't have a back door. I don't think
Okay.
it's safe.
There's no students in anymore. You understand that, correct?
Well, you were going to
There-
put
there's
students
no
in.
students.
You were going to put students
Ms.
in.
Cross, one more question.
Who reviewed the bids other than Mr. Smythe that came in? He mentioned the 3 bids. Did he open them up in public, or did he open them up just by himself? Was anybody in the room when he opened them?
Mr. Smythe, were they bids or were they quotes or were they just quotes? Okay.
There were
Did-
quotes that were obtained.
And who did they go to?
Mr. Romano,
Okay. And then from
Who were
that
the 3
point, what did he do
companies?
with them? Did he
you
get?
reviewed them with me.
Okay. Thank you. All right,
Wait,
Ms.
wait, I
Cross.
didn't hear what he
And one last
said.
clarification, each of the 4 classrooms have back doors. They have a second means of egress.
There's no
Which by law
back
you have
door.
to.
There is a back door. There's no handle on it. There's a handle on Miss Dyer's. I saw it today.
There's no
not-
handle to get into the classroom.
But-
Right.
Inside of the classrooms have panic bars.
I'm
for
sure
an
there
emergency
is.
exit. That was done as a safety precaution to remove the locks and handles from the outside of the classroom trailers.
Okay.
right.
Who
Ms.
else
Cross,
reviewed?
we are now going to let somebody else speak.
Who else reviewed the bids? You didn't answer that question. Besides
Miss-
Brian Smythe?
Rob
or Mr.
Romano, Rob Romano received them,
Okay.
and then Mr. Smythe, the quotes, and then Mr. Smythe reviewed them.
And nobody else saw them? You've never seen them, being on the board?
That's not what we do. We don't.
I know,
we
but
don't see
maybe you
things like
should
that.
start doing that, so
Well,
it wouldn't get
maybe,
to this
maybe we're going to evaluate
situation.
a lot of different things. Going forward, there's obviously things that need to be reevaluated in how business is conducted, and that's what we're going to do going forward. Because you have board members here that are very concerned about what's going on in the district. This is absolutely a serious issue. I mean, all of us were involved and sending emails and questioning things because I went out there, I didn't like what I saw. Mr. Sullivan went out there, didn't like what he saw. Yesterday, it was scheduled for other board members to go out and see. So it
All right.
wasn't like anybody was being complacent after we found out, but the way a school system works, so everybody understands, is that we go to meetings, finance, and I'm going to use finance and facilities as an example. We get reports from Mr. Smythe on different things that are coming, whether we need to buy buses are going out of service, there's a hole in a floor that needs to be repaired, there's asbestos found, whatever it might be. Mr. Romano comes and gives us an update on facility projects that have been completed, projects that are pending, projects that we might have to look at in the future. That's what we report on. We don't necessarily see all the bids that come in. We don't get to read every line on a contract because that's not what we do. That's why they get paid and they're full-time employees.
I know, I think they're paid too much. I think Mr. Smythe
I
should have had a
understand
big
that.
pay cut
And guess
back
what?
in July. He shouldn't have gotten a raise.
And guess what?
Looking
I
at
want
this,
a raise too, and I don't get anything. So,
okay.
that's the way it is.
The other
So,
thing is about mold. I want to go over this. People want testing surfaces
Ms. Cross,
tested.
there's-
Can you confirm tonight, if you go forward with anything, you're going to also look at the interior of the school at Central School? I've had people ask, maybe now that they're there, they should go into Central School and test for mold.
I believe that that's something that's always ongoing, correct, Mr. Smythe? We test the schools on a pretty regular basis?
Not for mold, no.
Not for mold, okay.
Okay, so can you do that, given all
The only
water?
time you would test for mold is if there was any indication of a mold problem, and then we would have air testing done.
Okay.
But why not test surface testing?
So-
One
so-
last thing.
So
Miss-
what we will do, and we'll bring it to F&F, is we will discuss a program, if we can, where we can look into regular air quality testing for different things.
And testing surfaces, that's the big difference. You have to test the surfaces.
We will go out and get professionals to come in and tell us what they think.
One
we
other
need to do.
thing, Ms. Dyer said that she contacted the Board of Health to come in. Can you tell me what time you called the Board of Ed to come in? Because I'm aware of all the parents that called. Can you tell me the date and the time, Ms. Dyer, that you called them to ask them to, please, can you come in and look at this? Because it looks terrible,
Ms.
and I'd
Dyer,
like
do
you to
know
come
that
in.
date?
First, I said the district was in touch with the Board of Health. I did not say that I was in touch with the Board of Health, and Mr. Romano had that contact.
Okay.
No,
thank
it said that you asked them
All
to
right.
come in and assess the situation.
Ms.
No.
We
Cross,
can-
she answered it.
Thank you.
No, no, no.
So-
Somebody can read that
Okay.
exactly. It said that she had asked them to come in.
Okay,
Or
so-
the
so
district,
now we
but
know-
who exactly was it?
Now we know it was Mr. Romano.
And
we
Mr.
will-
Romano's here. Did you call
and
them
we
and
will
say,
get something
hi,
from him.
this
Okay.
looks terrible, can
Ms.
you
Cross,
come in and look at
you
it?
can't just ask people in the audience questions.
Well, Mr. Romano
No.
should be up there.
Your
He should be
ti-
sitting
Ms.
up
Cross,
there.
your time is now up. We're going to move on to somebody else. We're almost at 20 minutes. So you got more tonight than probably 15 board meetings combined.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Anybody? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Young lady right behind. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Victor Coppola. I'm the owner of Greenworks Environmental. I was the firm that offered our complimentary services for today. I just wanted to let you all know that I am a resident here at Wall Township, and the reason for me coming down today is, you know, I have some young kids, and we're just a little concerned about what was going on, you know, there at the trailers. So I am a licensed individual. My firm is just about a mile away from where the school is. We're right off of Route 138. And we are building biologists, so we are the people that address indoor air quality issues. We work on this stuff, you know, all the time. And, you know, maybe we can work out a better rapport on how maybe we can get you guys some information that the community is generally concerned about with our kids. You know, air quality is generally something that, unfortunately, we all want, but there's really no rules regulating how we get it. So, and we're actually right here, and we're willing to work with you guys. And I just wanted to, again, my name is Victor at Greenworks. If you had any questions for me right now, or I'll be around afterwards.
Thank you. My contact information is on the website, as is Mr. Smythe's. You can just reach out to us. Thank you.
Or reach out that way. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Brooke Barber, and I'm a resident here in Wall. And the only question that I really had was surrounding, now that we're moving the students back into the building at Central, which I think we're very pleased with that action, how is that going to affect the rest of the students? So I know there's been some talk about the movement and the placement, and often I think that it's referred to as that you're going to maybe make some changes to maybe the music room or things such as this. I think these are the speculations that the community members are having, and if you had any information about what that's going to look like for us, it'll all put us at ease.
Ms. Steyer.
Sure. One of the classrooms that the fifth graders will be moving into is a room that's currently used by the Spanish teacher. So instead of the children going to that room for Spanish, the teacher will be going to their room. So we'll have a traveling Spanish teacher rather than. The music room is not being affected, neither is the art room or the technology room. Another classroom is used by 3 of our reading intervention teachers, and they mostly push into classrooms to work with small groups of students during reading instruction. There are times when they meet with students outside of the classroom for what we call Tier 3 or a more intensive intervention. They will have to share instructional space with other teachers for Tier 3 intervention. But each class goes to what's called a special at least once a day. And when the kids are at special, or when they are at lunch and recess, that classroom is empty. So the teachers, the principal has developed a schedule of when all of the different classes in the building are available, and then we'll work with the intervention teachers to develop a plan for which room they can use during each of the periods of the day. So that's what I was referring to before about the inconvenience to some teachers who are not used to sharing instructional spaces but will have to. Another classroom is used by our gifted and talented teachers and by a math interventionist. But the same thing will happen with those individuals where they'll have to use other instructional spaces in the building, including the media center when necessary. The third classroom is a special education classroom, a resource room that has only a few students, and they are going to go into a small classroom which was converted into office space. It was originally a small instructional classroom, and when it was not needed for that purpose the last couple of years, it was used by one of our supervisors. So that person is being dislocated and will have to share some office space with the principal and utilize her conference room periodically. So that is how we acquired 4 classrooms within the building.
I appreciate all of that information. I think that's really helpful and puts a lot of us at ease. As we all know, there's over 500 students at Central, and I think sometimes the transparency is where you lose us, is that what we're looking for is just that little bit of information really goes a long way with all of the parents, and not just the parents that are displaced. So I don't happen to have a 5th grader, but I think it's very important that my student knows going into the school year, with it being so close, kind of what they're instilling into, you know, is the music class going to change? And if we think that the students aren't affected by this, or that they don't hear either the parents talking, them playing on the playground and hearing what's going on, I think we're a little jaded to think that that's unrealistic. So I think that even if we could just think about for next year, or for the next scenario where there are things such as this, that we give as much information available that we can. All of that information is great information, and it really does help each parent to communicate this to their child going forward. So that would be the only other thing.
I'm just going to take a minute to respond to that, because I do appreciate that perspective, but I also want to make everyone sort of really aware of the timeline here, right? So August 16th was Friday. August 19th was Monday. I emailed the 5th grade parents on Monday afternoon. Prior to doing that, I worked with the principal to understand the plan that she had developed as a contingency. I communicated with the Teachers Association, the WTEA leadership, that we were going to be making some changes, and I gave the principal the opportunity to call personally the 12 teachers who were going to be affected by this plan prior to announcing it to people. That would be prior to announcing it to the press when they showed up at my office, even though I told them I was not going to do an on-camera interview, and prior to when I would share it with the parents of the 5th grade parents, because that's a professional courtesy. And I think that the teachers deserved that. The principal deserved the opportunity to have those personal phone conversations and to make people aware of what we were doing and how we were going to support them. So while I understand that you had to wait, an additional 24 hours to hear the plan, I think that that was the right thing to do for the teachers. Thank you.
I really, in no way, shape, or form, want to feel argumentative at this point, but I feel like this is combative. And this is my first time up at the podium, and I wouldn't normally feel that it was my responsibility to stand here and speak on the school's behalf. But the fact that you would imply that I had to wait an additional 24 hours in the tone and the demeanor you just presented is horribly offensive to me. I'm a professional woman. I work full-time. I manage quite a few people in my professional career, and never once would I ever want them to feel that it was more important for somebody else to hear things prior to, us having that communication. Absolutely. So I don't disagree that the teachers deserved some communication about it, but the 500 plus students and the 1,000 plus parents out there deserve equally the same. So your approach to my 24-hour notice was really condescending and rude. And with that being said, I'll take that into consideration going forward. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Is there anyone else?
Good evening. My name's Kathleen Duran from Wall Township. I have 3 general issues to address. First is Ms. Dyer's letter to the parents. In your letter, Ms. Dyer, you stated that there was a considerable amount of misinformation being circulated. As I sat here this evening, I didn't hear any misinformation spoken by the parents or by the board necessarily. So I would like to ask you if you could identify specifically the misinformation which you referred to in the parents' letter. And the next issue is Ms. Dyer indicated that she directed Mr. Romano to contact the Monmouth County Health Department. Do you know the date, or do you recall the date on which you instructed or directed Mr. Romano to contact the Monmouth County Health Department?
Ms. Dyer, do you know the date?
First, again, people are really taking liberty with my words. I did not say I directed Mr. Romano. I said Mr. Romano made that contact.
Oh, who did he do it at the direction of?
Well,
I thought she had said she did.
no.
Okay, then can somebody tell me who directed Mr. Romano to make the call to the county?
That, I don't know. We'll have to find that out.
Okay, when you do, what I understand that Mr. Romano's not here on the dais, but what I'd like to know from him is the day and time he contacted the Monmouth County Health Department and the identification of the person to whom he spoke. And I would like to also know why he contacted the Department of Health if he wasn't directed by somebody else.
Mr. Smite might have the answer.
Oh,
It's not the Monmouth County Health Department, it's the Health Department of Freehold Township, with which Wall Township contracts with, was contacted us and was asking us questions. So I asked Mr. Romano to contact the individual from the health department, ask them to come out and visit the trailers so that they didn't have to ask questions and us answer them. They can walk through the trailers and they could see what work was being done in person.
it was identified in Ms. Dyer's letter as the Monmouth County Health Department.
Okay,
That I
so-
always want you to know.
We used to be part of
Additional
that.
information was provided when they actually were here.
Okay,
and
so
we
it was
discussed
actually the
with them.
Freehold Board of Health?
No. It's the Freehold, believe it's the Freehold Regional Board of Health that Wall Township and I believe one other town is part of. We used to be part of the Monmouth County Board of Health.
Do we know
No.
how?
That's what it used to be,
Okay.
We're part of Freehold now.
yes.
Yes,
We
that's
use
that's
Freehold
what.
Township.
Freehold
I don't
Township,
think it's
right.
a consortium.
I'm sorry, Freehold Township.
Do we know, Mr. Smythe, then, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do we know who or how Freehold Regional Board of Health came to contact Mr. Smythe?
We
do. You do know
They
why?
didn't contact me.
They didn't contact
They
them.
received calls from parents. They reached out to Mr. Romano. They were asking questions. I think there was I'm not sure how that communication took place. I don't know if it was a message left or a voicemail. But again, the health department contacted us. We responded to them. We contacted them back and said, come on out.
Did they? Did they
Yes.
come out?
Yes,
Okay.
they were here
When?
today.
Oh, they were here today?
They were here today, and
And do you know when Mr. Romano contacted them?
We believe it was Monday. So,
They were coming here
Okay.
anyway. It wasn't like.
so
we
please,
told them.
no
Okay.
yelling out. You had your time.
Do you know whether the Freehold Regional Board of Health visit was planned already at the time when Mr. Romano contacted them?
Mr. Duran, we know they came out. We know they inspected things. We don't have anything else from them. So please move on from the.
Are they going to
Freehold.
give a report? Do you expect to receive a report?
I don't know what we're going to get, but at this point, it doesn't matter because we're not using the buildings.
Gotcha.
Well, let's see the reports anyway.
The last issue I wanted to address was the notice of pesticide application that was dated August 15th for 8 o'clock in the morning when they indicated that they were applying certain chemicals to the property. Is there any particular reason Ms. Dyer did not include information regarding the insect infestation to the letter to the parents? And why would such information have been withheld if she did not?
Because I don't believe we were fully aware until they started peeling off more what insects were there. So,
On the 15th, they applied chemicals without knowing what the insects were?
no, there were some ants visible. They called, had it sprayed, and that's what was done. Well, no, we were doing
okay.
question and answer. So do you have any other
No,
questions pertaining to this?
who decided that a pesticide company should be called?
Probably our facilities manager, because that's what
Okay.
they're supposed to do.
Okay, based on a report of your contractors, perhaps?
It could have been, or him visiting.
Okay. And they applied the chemical without knowing exactly what the insect was?
We hired a professional company that knows what they're doing.
Is there, okay. I just don't understand why the parents weren't informed of that at the time. It seems very odd. Not they didn't know what they were trying to kill and that the parents didn't know
all
what the
right.
pesticide was. I just find it kind of odd. I'm finding your explanation of it odd too, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, close public comment on the trailers. All right. So now we go to interviews. Yes. Now the board is going to move on to interviewing our 3 candidates to take the spot of the resignation that we accepted of Allison Connolly. Hopefully they're still here. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, well, we want. Is Jennifer in the room? Oh, hi, Jennifer. Okay. Is Erin in the room? Okay. And is Denise? Oh, okay. Great. All right. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you for coming. What we'll do, since there's 5 of us, we'll take turns reading questions. If everybody has their glasses on. All right. Welcome. So what we're going to do, it's already been a long evening, as you witnessed. We have a series of questions that different board members are going to ask you. We're going to keep the interviews to about 15 minutes or less. At the end, if there's anything you want to go back and touch upon, if there's time, we'll certainly allow you to do that. And what we'll do is just go, if the board could, just go in order of the questions. Dory, would you like to start with number 1?
Hi.
Question number 1. Please share how your interest in serving on the Board of Education developed.
I'm a resident of Wall since 1991.
Just make sure the microphone's on, the little green
The
light.
little green light is on.
Okay.
Everyone hear me?
Thank you.
I had a child, an older child that went to St. Catherine's parochial school, and I had a special needs child that started at primary. By 5th grade, my special needs child wasn't gifted and talented. I've done a lot of volunteering with Wall. I've been with the Little League. Wall itself, I've done stuff with the PTO and volunteered during the SHAC programs. I've done fundraising at ShopRite for journalism, environmental club, and the National Honor Society. And I really think that this is a great school, and I really want to be part of the organization.
Thank you.
What is your understanding of the role of the Board of Education and the role of a board member?
Okay. The role of the Board of Education is to establish and update district policies, develop annual school budgets, review school curriculums. It's also a link between the community and the superintendent, and negotiates teachers' contracts as needed. As far as the board member goes, it ensures that the district is responding to the values, beliefs, and priorities of the Wall community.
What are the most important qualities that the board as a whole needs to work effectively, and what qualities do you as an individual board member, and what qualities do individual board members need to have to ensure collective effectiveness?
I think you need to be objective, be a good listener, welcome input from others, be a collaborator, respect others' opinion, and accept and support final decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Krupa?
Welcome and thank you for stepping forward. I was in that seat just a few months ago, so thank you. Number 5 is, what kind of time commitment do you anticipate the position requiring, and are you regularly available on Tuesday evenings? Is your schedule flexible enough to accommodate additional meetings as needed?
I have the luxury, I work from home. I'm a case manager for a large insurance company. I do not have any overnight travel, and I was part of the South Wall Little League board, where I was the volunteer coordinator for 3 years, and we had monthly meetings and meetings as necessary, and I attended at least 95% of them. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to be involved.
You got the star.
Thank you. Mr. Wondrich, number 4 was skipped.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the board and the biggest challenge facing the district?
The board providing a quality education within available resources, budgets, meeting the needs of all stakeholders, including the administration, taxpayer, and the students. As far as the district, working within the confines of a budget and managing and addressing unplanned expenses.
Thank you. Ms. Malloy, number 6.
What skills, qualities, and experience would you bring to the Board of Ed?
I work hard. I've done a lot of volunteer work. I have been a Wall resident since 1991. I'm dedicated. I had a degree. I'm dual degreed, one in nursing and one in environmental science. I was an operations manager previously that ran a large government contract with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And I was their operations manager, so I know how to deal with clients and people and budgets. Because it was a fixed price contract.
Mr. Sullivan?
Which of our current district initiatives do you find most valuable or are you most excited about at this time?
I'm really glad that the curriculum changed in English to the workshop model. I think the children benefit from that, being able to select books within certain genres. I think it'll benefit them because it piques their interest. Children as a whole usually don't, it's a little struggle to read War and Peace if it's not their interest. I'm glad that we kind of have a little individuality as far as that, and I would be curious to see how it affects the SAT scores. Also, I love the Chromebooks this year, going home, I have to say.
Excellent, thank you. All right, number 8, do you have any relatives that work in the district? Do you have any associations that may prelude you from voting on specific items or issues?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm a very happy parent of 2 children that go to Wall.
What grades, can I ask?
I have a senior, and I have one going right into the intermediate school. And part of the reason why, and I can speak on this, I had a child that was in a Catholic school. You pay money for Catholic school, you get no discussions. It's hard pressed to get a teacher to call you back. I have to say, the teachers call within an hour to 24 hours in Wall. The teachers are energized. I have nothing but positive experience with the Wall Public School System.
We have some good teachers. Thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening, welcome. Thank you for coming out and staying. We appreciate it. What we're going to do is we're going to ask you the same 8 questions that was asked. Everybody's going to be asked the same 8 questions. You go through them, we'll ask you to go through them. Then at the end, we'll give you a chance, if there's time, to go back if you want to add anything or, you know, give a closing statement. We're going to try to keep it under 15 minutes. All right? And what we're going to do is we're going to follow the same format. Each board member is going to ask a question, and we're just going to go in order on our sheet. Okay?
Very good.
All right. Ms. Malloy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Could you please share what makes you want to be a board member?
Okay. I have 3 young kids in the district. My daughter Bridget's going into 4th grade. My daughter Riley's going into 2nd grade, and my youngest is going into nursery school. So I'm truly invested into seeing the success of our district moving forward. I feel that as an educator myself, I have the background and understanding of what it takes to run a school and efficiently, how to help students achieve higher learning. I'm very committed to what I do, and I give my best in it. Thank you.
What is your understanding of the role of the Board of Education and the role of a board member?
Okay, so the role of the board is to provide an excellent education for our students, participate on subcommittees such as facilities and finance, public relations, curriculum and instruction, and really ensure that our district is running efficiently, effectively, and moving forward for the future, as well as providing taxpayers a fiscally responsible budget and planning and projecting for the future. I think being on the board, it's not really a lot of what's happening now. It's where are we going? Where are we going for the future? And how can we provide for our community members and ensure that our students are going to get the best education?
Okay. What are the most important qualities that the board as a whole needs to work effectively? And what qualities do individual board members need to have to ensure collective effectiveness?
Okay. So working collectively and collaboratively is most important. Being able to offer your expertise in certain areas and understanding of where we want to go for the future for our school district. We have a lot of challenges in this district at this point with transition and trust within the community, and I feel that I would be able to build a great rapport with our teacher association as well as our community and parents.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Krupa.
So first, thank you for stepping forward. I was in your seat just 3 months ago, and it's very nice to see that 3 people have stepped forward as well. What kind of time commitment do you anticipate this position requiring, and are you available on Tuesday nights? Is your schedule flexible enough to accommodate additional meetings as needed?
Yes, I understand that being a board member obviously goes above and beyond attending monthly meetings and meetings that are scheduled. I understand that there's a lot of research that goes into your position and understanding where, what curriculum's coming down, what programs do we want for the kids, how are we going to provide great facilities for them to use. It really does go above and beyond the meetings. I also feel that that understanding what the state has to, what the state has coming down the pike for us and being prepared takes a lot of effort.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the board and the biggest challenge facing the district?
So as I mentioned prior, the biggest issue facing the board is regaining the public trust and in involving your community in a collaborative fashion. I also believe that they're looking for a lot of transparency and being able to provide that for our community members. I also see for the district with the larger enrollment going to be occurring with their developments, it's imperative to project for the future and really draw up a plan that continues to have great facilities, that continues to give the best education for our students, that continues to have amazing personnel such as our teachers and our staff and our faculty members.
Thank you. Ms. Malloy?
I am a teacher myself. I teach in Belmar Elementary School. I have taught there for 11 years. I have a BA in Applied Psychology, Human Relations. I have a master's in counseling. I have a master's in special education, and I have a master's in elementary education. So I feel that my experiences and my professional educational background, really I can contribute and give you some insight into what is going on in our classrooms. They're constantly evolving, they're constantly changing. We're always looking to provide a better service to our kids and give them the best education possible. So with my background and currently being a teacher, I feel that I can really benefit.
Which of our current district initiatives do you find most valuable or are you most excited about at this time?
Well, obviously, as a teacher, I love curriculum and instruction. I love implementing our technology and seeing the students' faces. They truly enjoy being able to utilize technology in their educational experiences. I also have a soft spot for special education. I came into education field as a special education teacher. I worked as an LLD teacher, self-contained. I worked as an in-class support teacher and providing those students. Wall is known to have a phenomenal special education program. You are able to provide the least restrictive environment for so many students, where in a smaller district you have to meet their needs elsewhere. So I think being able to keep students who learn differently in our community is really amazing.
Number 8. Do you have any relatives who work in the district? Do you have any associations that may preclude you from voting on specific items or issues?
No, I do not have any relatives working in the district. I am a member of the Belmar Education Association and a member of NJEA, but I feel that those memberships wouldn't hinder my service as a board member. I feel like if anything, it would bring some insight to board members and help everyone understand to build a better rapport.
Oh, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just looking forward to building a positive foundation for our students, and I would be grateful for this opportunity.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it.
Is it possible to put the air on?
There is no air in here, sorry.
There's never any air?
There's nothing. All right.
Gotta be kidding.
Number 3.
2.74 million?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm going to give you the little rundown. We are going to all...
Oh, hello. My name is Dr. Denise Ricciardi. I'm a resident of Wall Township.
Sorry.
Nobody's giving their name.
Sorry.
I'll be happy to.
What we're going to do is we have 8 questions we're going to ask you. Each board member is going to ask you one of the questions. It's the same 8 questions we've asked the previous 2 people.
Okay.
We're going to keep it under 15 minutes, and then at the end, if there's anything you want to go back and touch upon or a closing statement, if time permits, we'll let you do that. So we're going to start with number 1, Ms. Malloy.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Could you please share how you became interested in serving on the Board of Ed?
Yes, I've been interested for quite some time. My family moved to Wall Township 49 years ago. My parents bought their first home in Wall, and I have made my career one where I have provided supports and an oversight of educational services for students with diverse educational needs for over 26 years. Most recently, I retired. I was fortunate enough to retire as Assistant Superintendent of Special Services of Ocean Township Public School District, July 1st, 2018, thus giving me the availability to commit to a position on the Board of Education and to be able to apply my experience and my training throughout many years for the betterment of our students in my hometown. Interestingly, my own father served on the Board of Education in the 1970s, and until his untimely death at 61 years of age, he spoke very fondly of working on behalf of the students of Wall Township Public School District. That's something that I remembered throughout the years, and again, given my past experience, I would love the opportunity to apply my expertise and my training to those in my hometown and to give back to the town that I so love. All right.
Mr. Sullivan?
What is your understanding of the role of the Board of Education and the role of a board member?
My understanding comes from my past experience. I worked very collaboratively with the Board of Education in Ocean Township, and prior to that, I was also a central school administrator in Colts Neck Public Schools, and worked very collaboratively with the Board of Education there. I also have the experience of serving on the Board of Directors for the Shore Center School for Students with Autism. Essentially serving as a board member for that school for students with special needs. My understanding of being on the board is one of accountability to the public, one in facilitating public relations, in working collaboratively with the public, with the school personnel, for the betterment of the students. It's not the role of the Board of Education to micromanage, but rather to support the community in serving their interests for their children whom they love. So that's how I see the underlying role of being on the board.
Okay. What are the most important qualities that the board as a whole needs to work effectively, and what qualities do individual board members need to have to ensure collective effectiveness?
I think it's important not only to hear the public, but to truly listen to what their concerns are, and to respond in a timely manner with respect and with follow-up, not just immediate follow-up, but follow-up over time. I think that's critical. I think it's important to facilitate a sense of trust and confidence in your school district by being available, by looking at matters objectively, with having your hand on the pulse of the overall school district, not just with the staff, but also with the parents, with the senior citizens, and with others who reside within the community.
Thank you. Mr. Krupa?
Sure. Thank you for coming out tonight, and
Pleasure to be here.
it's great to
Thank
see
you.
3 candidates, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
I was there 3 months ago, and I'm also a retiree, so
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. What kind of time commitment do you foresee the position requiring? Are you available on Tuesday nights or meeting days, and
Yes.
for other meetings that might come up?
Yes. I would not have applied for the position had my availability been any less than what it is right now. I would give this my highest priority. I am fortunate to be retired, and whatever time is needed, I certainly will provide it. That being said, it goes beyond what is needed. Again, I think it's very important to keep your hand on the pulse with knowing the ongoing concerns of the community, of the school personnel, and to be available to them at all times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
What do you think the biggest challenges facing the board and facing the district?
I think that there are a few challenges or concerns. Challenges. I've been a longtime resident of Wall Township, and I have concern about the level of confidence or concerns that are being expressed by the public. I think at this time, too, in Wall Township, we're at a point of upcoming changes that are very serious and ones that need to be taken very seriously. We're looking at building development occurring that I think we need to take a proactive position on and plan for. It's my understanding that Ms. Dyer will be leaving the district, and her position will need to be filled. I take that very seriously. The role of the superintendent sets the tone of the overall district, and I think it is critical to find a candidate that will best service our children and our community. There's always the ongoing challenge of being fiscally responsible while providing high-quality services for children. I think that's an ongoing challenge, but I think it's one that we need to always be mindful of in our town here as well. Thank you. Yes, hi.
What skills, qualities, and experience do you bring to the position of a board member?
Okay. With regard to my experience and my skills, as shared earlier, I am fortunate to have been able to be fortunate enough to retire in July 2018 after 26 years experience in the schools. I believe it's a strong asset to have a board member who understands education and one that has a history of success and a fine reputation in the field of education. My experience, my most recent experience, was as assistant superintendent in Ocean Township, a preschool through age 21 school district that has similar demographics as Wall Township. We had very wealthy, we had very poor students, we had everything in between. And we had a diverse student population, and I embraced that. And there are different leadership styles. I bring with me a history of holding leadership positions in supporting public schools throughout New Jersey, not only on a district-wide level, but my past experience includes being president of the County Association of School Administrators in Special Education, leadership experience as past president of the New Jersey Association of Pupil Service Administrators, being selected as the member at large for the New Jersey Association of School Administrators, serving on the board of directors.
Ms. Riccardi?
Yes.
I'm sorry. We are over the 15 minutes.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's okay. So I don't want to cut you off, but we do have your resume, and
Okay.
it is impressive.
I'm sorry, I
But
was just responding to
we'll
her question.
we'll do briefly the next two questions, just to be fair.
Sure.
Mr. Sullivan? Yes.
Which of the current district initiatives do you find most valuable or are you most excited about at this time?
The district initiative I find of most interest is that of promoting positive public relations. That is of most importance to me at this point.
All right.
Thank you.
And finally, do you have any relatives who work in the district, or do you have any associations that may prelude you from voting on specific items or issues?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, I will take a motion to go into executive session to discuss the interviews with the hope that we will come out and vote for a new board member.
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to reconvene. Mr. Smythe, we have a roll call, please.
I'm here.
Yes.
Yes.
Here. All right. The board went back. We discussed our candidates, and we are pleased. And actually, we are going to do a motion. Actually, I'm sorry. Could I have a motion on the nomination for someone for the board?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you nominate? Mr. Krupa.
Aaron Megan.
Okay.
Megan, sorry.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Smythe.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Mr. Agnesi?
Yes. Congratulations. You didn't run out already, okay? Oh, good.
And there's another seat that'll be available.
The board would like to thank the other two individuals who put in. The board does anticipate other vacancies, and we do hope you put in because we were impressed with everyone, and unfortunately tonight we can only pick one. Come on down, you're going to get sworn in.
Can I make my motion now?
No. We have to do roll call first. Welcome. All right. Hope you have some extra boxes on that.
Yes. Okay, take a roll call. Ms. Mangan?
Here.
There you go. Thanks. Mr. Krupa?
Present.
Ms. Malloy?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Wondrak? Mr. Agnesi?
Here. Thank you. Ms. Moore?
Now, okay. Thank you, everyone, for the time on the board, but I am resigning.
Do we need another roll call or no? Okay. We'll do it under new business. Okay. Yes. All right. Now we are going to have nominations for the position of president, since there is a vacancy. Can we have nominations, please?
I'll nominate Ralph as president.
Any seconds?
I second that.
Anybody else for nominations? Seeing none, I guess,
Mr.
Yes.
Adenizia?
Yes.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Ms. Malloy? Oops, sorry, stupid. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Yes.
Well, I just would like to say thank you to everyone who voted for me, and to the people that are not here, thank you anyway. All right, moving along, we're doing that next month. Okay. So, nominations for vice president will be at next month's meeting. Number 14, we don't have any special presentations. We don't have any student representatives. President's report, there is nothing tonight except what I'm going to do is there's going to be some juggling of committees because we have, we're short some people. We have a new person. And this board, moving forward, is going to work hard to build community trust and transparency. You know, all of us in the community and sitting here are certainly aware of things that have been said and done, and we all want to fix that. We're committed to it. That's why we're sitting here. All right. Board of Education updates. I don't believe there are any. Committee reports. Okay. Well, everybody had it. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the policy report? Okay. Seeing none. Personnel report. Did anybody have any questions in regards to that? No. Seeing none. Curriculum and instruction. Any questions? Seeing none. Okay. Finance and facilities. That was also posted online with all the different attachments. Did anybody have any questions in regards to that? No, seeing none. Okay. And public relations did not meet in August. We will anticipate having a meeting in September for talk about back to school and things like that. Okay. Okay. We have public comment now for agenda action items only. It's only for items that are listed on the first part of the agenda. Anybody have anything?
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall. You're voting on tonight those transfers that I was talking about, so I'm gonna hand them to you. I don't know if you should be transferring it because you're talking about the central school trailers. And the pages I attach, one is for central, one is for number 21, and I don't know what that is. So I'm not sure if you meant you're no longer gonna be doing all of these maintenance items in central school. You were doing asbestos abatement, building security, concrete masonry work, the list goes on, and now you call it central school renovations. So I'm going to hand you this, and I don't want anybody voting on it unless you know what you're voting on.
Please give it to Mr. Smythe.
And what is number 21, subgroup 21?
Mr. Smythe, do you want to take a second to look at it? And can you have any other questions while he looks at
Just
that?
as long as he answers that before I go.
Well,
Could you go over, was the RAP program in the negative, $13,000 this year? Could you go over what the RAP program total was at?
I believe that was in the minutes. And and the explanation was in the minutes for that.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it. I didn't print off those pages. Can you go over that so it's on the record and other people can hear it? Was it in the negative, and why was it in the negative?
It was in the negative due to a new state law that requires us paying out sick leave for employees. So part-time employees are now entitled to sick leave, so that had to be factored in.
And when did you find out that you needed to do that? Like,
In
maybe
Ju-
you should have,
It was in June. It was a brand-new law that was sprung on us. So there was no pre-planning. It was thrown at us, like most things in the state of New Jersey are, and we adapted. The account, this year it finished in the negative, but the account as a whole is still in the positive.
okay. I see cash, I see like $12 million in the bank, and I keep bringing this up that Mr. Smythe was paying enormous bank fees. Are you making any interest on the $12 million that's in the bank now? You're approving that. I would like an answer on that. You can answer those two questions while I look for my next question.
No, we're going to take all questions right now, and then we're going to answer.
I'm looking at costs for special ed students coming in. I think I've asked this before. I don't think Ms. Duffy is here. I see behavioral disability, we're charging $36,000 a student, but when we send somebody out, we're paying $70,000. Are we charging? Are we breaking even on this? I want to be sure we're not taking students in and maybe spending money on them. I don't mind taking students in. I just want to be sure we're covering all our costs. Has there been any type of analysis on that? It is your attachment SS2. If you could go over that and let me know how you came up with those numbers. Could you go over, I think you were short $150,000 for WTEA contracts. I'm not sure why you approved that, and I remember being here asking you what the raises were for the WTEA, and the board president at the time, who's now resigned, Allison Connolly, just sat up there and didn't answer anything. So why would the board approve it if you didn't have enough funds to pay it? Maybe Mr. Smythe can pay the $150,000? Did he let you know that you didn't have enough money to actually pay the raises, but you approved it anyway? When did the board know that you didn't have the money? I'd like an answer on that tonight. I see all kinds of money being transferred around. Cash in the bank is attachment B2. You have $12 million, 194, 112.75. Can you let me know the interest rate you're getting, Mr. Smythe? Also on the schedule, attachment B2, revenue, I bring this up every single year. This has got to be the 8th year I've brought it up. Mr. Smythe always underestimates revenue. And this year he's off by $500,000. He's always off by around that. For tuition, incoming tuition, $94,000 he was off. Tuition from LEAs within the state, he was off by $167,000. Miscellaneous, he was off by $261,000. So he was off by $508,000. I'd like to know why he keeps doing that and why the board keeps allowing it. Extraordinary aid, he was also way off. He estimated 150, and you got in 454. So total revenue that he was off by was $753,000. What are you doing with that money actually right now? That is B2, page 6, so everybody can go to it in the book.
All right. Do you have any additional questions, Ms. Cross?
Let me know how you're doing on health insurance. I see you've got about another $700,000. Can you let me know where your numbers are at with that? I also see on page 13 of B12, this is a big one. Let me know, Mr. Smythe, why construction services are off by $1 million. You appropriated $3,000,001 and you expended $982.
Ms. Cross, some of these questions would probably be better suited in an email because they're...
As we know, when I send in questions, they never get returned. So I'm getting them all on the record. He can go back and listen to the tape, and he can answer my questions. I spend so much time on this.
I read every email you send, and I am fully aware of that. But
no, I'm not typing it up. Mr. Smythe can go back and listen to the audio and get back to me on these answers. You're voting on it tonight. Everybody, you should have Mr. Smythe answer these questions before you vote. You shouldn't be voting on items if you don't know the answers to them yourself. You're actually voting on all of these items yourself. So I am bringing them to your attention, and now I would like the answers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Smythe, are there any questions? Yes, she's done. Are there any questions that, well, are you, no, she is done. Yes,
I
you
think,
just said you were done. So,
I think, oh, no.
Yep.
You're accepting the resignation of Allison Connolly?
We did.
I know, and I'm very glad for that. She threw everybody else under the bus, the WTEA,
Ms.
the
Cross,
PTOs,
we read
and
it.
myself.
We read it. You know what, we
No,
can't.
no, no. My name was named, so I would like to say something. I'm glad she resigned.
Okay.
It was long overdue, and we should see more resignations here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smythe, is there any of these questions that you have the answers to this evening? I know we've discussed bank fees before.
Transfer in question, again, is $30,000 into the required maintenance for central school. That's all that is.
Okay. And the 60,000 that we did allocate.
That's the original budget.
Right, right. But the 60,000 that we allocated is just going to sit there now. It's not going to be used.
Well, no, the original 60,000 that was budgeted into that account was for the regular maintenance of that building through the year,
Okay.
unrelated to the central school trailers.
Which
for
was
this
a
specific project.
Right, which was a separate item, correct?
Well, it's the
Okay.
separate items that are
Yes.
listed as a detail in the budget projection
Yes.
module, just as we budget for all of the schools the required maintenance.
Can you read the line item? Doesn't it say
Ms. Cross, we're not yelling at, we gave time. We'll let him answer.
It's not answering my exact question. It says central school trailer.
Okay,
We're
there's
getting
a
to that.
transfer. Description, central school trailer, $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the total for
Okay.
the central school
Wait,
trailer?
Ms. Cross,
No,
no,
let him answer the question,
Okay,
Ralph.
you keep,
There's a
he is
misunderstanding.
answering it, and you keep yelling out.
Once it transfer, the balance, education on expense account adjustment analysis is, that's not the balance for that description. The description is for the transfer, which is the action being taken. The transfer is 30,000. The new balance for that account is $65,000. The original balance, or the old balance, was $35,000. We transferred in 30,000. Why'd you transfer it in? Central school trailer renovation. The new balance, now that you put 30,000 additional dollars in, is $65,000 for that account. That includes the work for the central school trailers, as well as everything else that you budgeted for central school required maintenance.
Thank you.
The next line
Okay.
item. There's two of them.
One's a transfer in,
Yes,
and then we transferred out from a different account. That's where
Right.
the money came from.
right.
So what was
And
the
that
total
and that
for
happens quite a bit
central
towards the end of the year.
school trailers?
Okay,
99,000.
That's not correct. He has gone,
Not even close.
he has said this several times. We have the answer.
Don't vote on that transfer, because that transfer says
No,
central school
Ms. Cross.
trailers, 99, Ralph,
Miss-
you're not even looking at it. How can
I
you
have
tell me?
seen it.
Look at it.
We just have the answer,
You're adding up the balance of two separate accounts.
I realize that.
which isn't correct. That's what he's been saying all along. It's not correct. You can't add the two different accounts.
Sure I can, because he just put the money in there.
He's taking money out of one account and moving it over to another account.
Add the two
No.
total numbers. Let John look at it. I
Okay.
just showed it to a
All
bunch
right.
of people sitting here.
Mr. Smythe, have we, to my knowledge, in F&F, we haven't talked about doing anything with the bank fees yet. We've talked about,
We do earn interest on the bank fees that we receive. We're having discussions with TD Bank on a new proposal to better improve the interest we are earning. What happens is there's a minimum balance that offsets the fees that we incur for our banking. Discussing to reduce the minimum balance to offset the fees, and if through F&F we want to discuss going out for an RFP for banking services, we can have that discussion.
okay, thank you.
Special ed tuition is calculated based on the state formula that's included in the budget, And then at the end of the year, after the auditors come in and audit our books, there's actually a certified tuition based on the audit, and it is reconciled with the sending district, as well as when we're the sending district, it's reconciled with those districts. The other question was health insurance. How'd we do? It's a $10 million line item in the budget, and I believe the balance at year end was $22,000. So, scheme of things, I think that was a pretty good line item for the budget, and it came in pretty accurate. With regard to B12, why we have $982,000 remaining, or why you say we were off by that amount, is because we budgeted for a proposed transportation compound for $3-point-something million. We didn't construct it. We repurposed some of those funds for other projects in the district, such as the paving, such as air conditioning. And throughout that entire discussion, we said that whatever the balance was in our capital account would be returned to the capital reserve account. And that is actually required by statute, because we funded the majority of those capital projects with a transfer from our capital reserve, or a budgeted transfer from our capital reserve. So it's required to be returned to the capital reserve, but that's what the board said we were doing anyway.
Okay. I believe that's it. Thank you.
You got it.
Any other questions?
Oh, you mean on the budget items? Sure.
No, just on the agenda items.
Yeah, the ones you just went over, yeah. I didn't know if you were, excuse me, because I didn't know if you were addressing the board or the public.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Kathleen Duran, Wall Township. I'm just going to ask this as a question, but it's also a comment. I don't understand at all the banking fee issue. As Betsy and Oprah responses have shown us, that there's over $12 million in the account right now. I don't even understand why in 2019 we're even having this as a question or an issue. Why are we not getting interest on our $12 million account? My teenagers want interest on their 197 birthday money. It's not even logical. Isn't that Mr. Smythe's job? How many years have we gone without interest that we know from Oprah requests that all the other schools around us are getting and benefiting, and we've had to go forego tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds for all I know, and it could be up to the millions because Mr. Smythe has never asked the bank to put it in an interest-bearing account. Boggles my mind. And then I'm looking at board members, like, this question's never been asked till Betsy raised her hand. It makes no sense. Even a child would know that you should get interest. Not only have we not had the benefit of any interest payments for the past couple of decades on our millions of dollars, we've had to pay fees. We've had to pay fees that, again, even a child opening a high school checking account gets them waived because they don't have to pay for their checks. But here we are paying fees on top of getting no interest. So the cost to Mr. Smythe's inaction here is staggering. And I don't understand him getting raises year after year. I don't understand why he's still here. And I don't understand why Betsy's raising her hands and everybody's just looking around like, well, we're looking into it. I mean, I would have taken care of that the next day at the bank. I don't understand if we've even got another extra month without getting interest. It's something ludicrous. Is there a reason that I don't understand or I know about as to why no one is taking the step to make sure we get the money we deserve as a school district? Is there any reason this isn't happening? Okay, Twilight Zone. Okay, the second question
You will have an answer to that once you're
Okay, thank you. And I don't understand at all your response to Mr. Smythe's response to Betsy's question. She's showing, according to her reading of the numbers, it shows two separate transfers under central school renovations. And those monies, when they're added together, bring it up to 99. If the second entry that you're shaking your head about, Mr. Smythe, was for something else, maybe it should have been denominated something else, because I think the confusion comes in having it labeled with the same title, Central School Trailers, and you have two entries with the same label. That causes a lot of confusion. If one was for renovations as opposed to trailers, designating it properly would keep the layman here from being confused about what you're talking about. I don't think it's a head shaker. I think it's a courtesy thing. Explaining it to people who are looking at two entries that say the same thing and adding them up, and that's common sense. It may not be in your world, but it is to outsider looking in. And for the life of me, I don't understand why the response to somebody asking that question is, you're just wrong, without explaining it. I think it should be, I think she deserves an explanation, and I certainly do, because I have no idea what Mr. Smythe said in regards to Betsy's question being responsive. Thank you.
Mr. Smythe, with just touching on that second one with the transfer, I know that you're with the transfers. Okay.
With regard to the banking fees, we do receive interest on the funds we keep in the bank.
What's the interest rate?
Off the top of my head, I don't know the interest rate.
You should know it.
Okay.
We got $12 million in the bank.
We do earn interest on the funds we keep in the bank. There is a portion of the balance that we maintain that offsets the fees. The funds in excess of that,
Ms. Cross, please stop
the
yelling
funds
out.
in excess of that earn interest, as has been discussed at a couple board meetings previously. I've reviewed the interest earned in Monmouth County over the past 5 years and the interest earned in Monmouth County last year, and there's less than 8 districts that earn more interest than Wall Township does with the funds that they keep in the bank. So
You keep saying it.
Ms. Cross, please stop yelling out. No, this is a meeting.
Yes,
Okay?
it's a meeting.
It's a meeting.
some
People do not yell out from the audience at a meeting. Okay? I sit through a lot of meetings, a ton of meetings. We don't yell out. So I will do listen to me, please listen to me. I will do my best to make sure every question you ask is answered, the same with anybody in the public. But at a meeting, we're going to conduct it as a meeting. We're not going to yell out, and we're going to treat people with respect. And the respect comes from this direction out and from that direction in. It's okay to disagree with everybody, but we're going to respect each other. That's very important, because this is a school, and we teach respect. And if we can't respect each other here, then we have no business telling kids to respect each other. So it's going to start here tonight. My intention is this is the first day going forward to rebuild trust in the community. Very important. And with everybody here, we can do that, but we all have to respect each other. We can disagree, because that's how we come up with new ideas and better ways to do things, but we're going to respect each other. With that, Mr. Smythe, I'm sorry, please continue.
Mr. Sullivan, got the transfer sheet back? Did you want to comment on that, or? No. Okay. With regard to the transfer in question, it's one adjustment number, and it's adjustment number 7. A transfer is a two-part action. You're transferring from one account into another account. If you were to review page 1 of attachment B1, it's the third item, it says CS trailer renovation. The first account is 1130-261-420, which is a contracted required maintenance for that building. 007 denotes the building. It's clean and repair and maintenance. We're transferring in $30,000. That's the adjustment. The old amount for that account, cleaning and repairs at Central School, which is the 1130-261-420, the original amount or old amount of that account was $35,000. We're transferring in $30,000. The reason we're transferring in $30,000 is specific to Central School trailer renovation. The new balance for that account, the account 1130-261-420, which is for required maintenance of Central Elementary School, is now $65,000. Because we had 35, we just put in 30, so we increased it to 65,000. We needed to transfer that $30,000 from a different account. So that's the second part of the action being taken, or the transaction. It's still the same description as Central School trailer renovation. It's coming from a different account, 1130-261-420-021. It's cleaning and repair and maintenance. The 021 refers to the primary school. The original amount in that account was $64,000. We're transferring out $30,000 to put into the central school required maintenance. That new balance for that account went from 64,000, we took out 30, is now, the appropriation for that account is $34,000. So that was the transaction that occurred. A transfer is a two-part transaction. You're transferring it out of one into another. You don't then take the two balances remaining in those two separate accounts, add them together, and come to $99,000 and say that's what's now appropriated for the central school trailers. The description only is specific to the adjustment for the transaction occurring, and that transaction where the adjustment is $30,000.
Can I just say what I was still confused about that answer?
Now,
Why not? Because we're confused. He didn't answer the question. Why is it called Central School Trailer?
Mr. Smythe, with that, because that was what I was actually going to ask, the second part, the designation that you have, because it's maintenance and then it's also the trailers, correct? In transferring into that one account.
The name of the account, each account has a distinct account number, and each of those numbers has a meaning in the State Department of Education. The account description is cleaning, repair, and maintenance, and that's the description for all the accounts for each of our buildings that is for required maintenance. The transaction, the description of the transaction is central school trailers, because we're moving the money into that account.
Okay. So the transaction is different than the actual account name?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
It's for the Central School Trailers that you just put a hold on.
Ms. Cross, you're still yelling out.
I know, but he's not
No,
answering
he
the
just
question.
answered the question.
Are you transferring money for the Central School Trailers?
We are not doing anything with central school trailers. As he
We're gonna not
stated,
vote on that
listen,
tonight.
all the money is going into the maintenance account for maintenance on the building. There are other things that need to be done in the building. That's where that money's going. That's what the account it's going into is. The transfer, what he's talking about, would just happen to be central school trailers. That was just the name of the transfer, but it's going into a general maintenance account so we can fix broken doors, broken windows, and things of that nature. Right? Yeah.
Did you take the money away from primary? That's not what he did.
That
Put
is
it in writing
that is
tomorrow.
exactly what he did.
Put it in writing tomorrow. Thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, close public comment. All right, moving along, business meeting. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, good. Secretary minutes. Can I have a motion approving Secretary minutes of business meeting July 16, 2019, and the executive session July 16, 2019. I believe everybody was present except our new board member. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Wondrek, a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Krupa? Any questions, comments, corrections? No? All in favor? Oh, no? Oh, roll
Mr.
call,
Krupa?
sorry.
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Abstain.
Mr. Anastasio?
Yes. Okay. Motion passes. New business policy, recommend approval for the public hearing of the first reading of the following policies. 5120, assignment as students, revised. Could I have a motion on that, please?
I move it.
Could I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Open public comment for policy 5120. Seeing none, close public comment. Any questions on the policy? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak?
Yes.
Ms. Mangan?
Abstain.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. B, recommended approval for public hearing of the second reading of the following policies. 1642, earned sick leave law. R1642, earned sick leave law. 2415.04, Title I district-wide parental involvement. And 7523, school district provided technology devices to students. Could I have a motion on that, please?
I move it.
Could I have a second?
I
A second. Public comment on the second reading of these policies? Seeing none, close public comment. Any discussion from the board? Questions, comments? No? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Abstain.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio?
Yes. Number 23, Board of Education report, recommended approval of Ralph Adenizio as board president, as authorized signature for regular cafeteria before and after school programs and flexible spending accounts held with TD Bank. Could I have a motion on that, please?
I'll make that motion.
Could I have a second? Any discussion? Roll call, Mr. Smythe.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Yes.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio?
Yes. Number 24, Superintendent's report. Ms. Dyer.
Thank you. Can I have a motion by consent agenda to move items A through Z on the superintendent's report?
Could we have a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Ms. Mangan?
Could
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
make I'm sorry.
motion?
So, I just wanted to, part of that includes the curriculum? Yes. Yeah, and I just think we'd be remiss in not, acknowledging and thanking the teachers and the administrators and the curriculum office that work so hard on all that work during the summer. It's kind of like the forgotten son, and I know there are not many people here, but it is a lot of work, and they're making headway. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I think anytime you can recognize staff for doing something good, it's important to give them a shout out. So thank you. We have motion second. Any other discussion? No? Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Yes.
Mr. Adenizio?
Yes. All right. Number 26, business office.
25?
I'm sorry, 25.
Okay, ask for a motion under item 25, business office, to approve by consent agenda items A through I and K through O. I am not moving J,
Okay. Could I have a motion on that?
which is the approval of the classroom trailers as a temporary use. So,
Yes. Could I have a motion? Anybody?
I make that motion.
Thank you. Could I have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, roll call, please.
Mr. Sullivan?
I will abstain on A, line item 007, and yes on all rest.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. Ms. Mangan?
Abstain.
Mr. Krupa?
I'm going to abstain on A, but the rest of it, I'm a yay for.
All of it?
The transfer piece. Am I understanding it, or saying it correctly? Okay. The trailer thing. No?
Yeah, so again. So
You know what, make it all transfers then.
Okay.
Mr. Adenizio?
Yes. All right. Motion passes. Time for public comment. Please step up.
Betsy Cross, I live in Wall. Welcome to the board. I listened to your interview. That was very good. Glad to have you here. I think you're going to be great. So I'm sorry I forgot to mention that before. And sorry my cell phone went off, and it went off when you were being sworn in. So sorry about that. Just wanted to mention, I think, I hope we can get a motion tonight to have Mr. Smythe do a timeline of everything that happened with the trailers, starting with the purchase of the trailers, because when I looked back even at the minutes in 2007, I can't even find it. Just something quick that says, we bought the trailers in July of 2007, we paid X, here was the schedule, here was who we bought them from, here's the maintenance schedule that we did, here's the maintenance schedule throughout, to see how we got to this point. Because now, I don't understand why Mr. Smythe didn't get bids. Why did he only get quotes? Because quotes aren't open in public. I would have loved to have sat there for that bid opening, but there was no bid opening. And the price was $38,000. It was over the bid threshold. So why didn't Mr. Smythe get bids? Why wasn't anybody in there with him looking at him? Why doesn't anybody know what the three prices were? Why doesn't anybody know why the other contractor walked off? Why was Mr. Romano sitting in the 5th row? Why wasn't Mr. Romano sitting up here? I even sent in an email. I've sent in so many emails, and nobody has responded. Cheryl Dyer is looking on her phone right now. She got her head down, right? She's not even paying attention. That's true, right. I agree. I'm not sure why you're here. Why don't you resign tonight, too? Put in your notice. Time to move on. We can get somebody in here very quickly, Ms. Dyer. I mean, look at you. You got your head down.
All right, Ms. Cross, we're not
I know.
doing
Well,
this.
I don't think it's right. I would like a timeline, and somebody on the board should ask for it, because otherwise, everybody's going to assume there was something wrong, there was a big cover-up with everything now, and now you're not going to get to the bottom of it because you shut it down. You were shut down anyway. You didn't have the building permit. Nobody wants to hear. So many people are so mad saying, I couldn't do that. If I got shut down, I'd be shut down. Everybody can tell there's problems with that. So why did it get to that? Why did it get to all the outrage of the parents? How embarrassing for you. So embarrassing to get Channel 2 News here, Channel 12 News, everybody writing about it, and Mr. Smythe just got some quotes, don't know what they are. We got one sentence in the minutes in July, one sentence in August. I mean, that is a disgrace. So, Mr. Sullivan, somebody, I think you say, Mr. Smythe, can you do up a 2-page timeline of what happened? Because I do not ever want this to happen again. I mean, you were going to do all that work, cover it up, not do the mold test because you didn't do it. And I talked to Mr. Romano. He said you didn't do the surface testing, and that was the most important thing. You did the air testing. Why? What are you hiding? So if you're hiding something, you will not propose it. You'll hide it, and you'll spend tons of money for Mr. Gross to redact items and let Mr. Smythe redact them. And if you're going to be transparent and accountable and you want to get the public on your side, you will have him do a 2-page summary of what happened. And if somebody did something wrong, they need to go. Because we can't trust our kids in these schools with people doing things that are improper. And I get the feeling something was not right with this whole situation from what I've looked at in just 2 days. I keep bringing this up too about a transportation audit. You have a report. It shows you're overspending on transportation by $234,000. I gave you the names of companies that could come in here, spend $20,000 on an audit, and you'd save $200,000. Why don't we want to do it? I'll wait till Mr. Gross is done. Why don't we want to do a transportation audit, Ralph? You're chairman of FNF now. Do a transportation audit. You're driving around empty buses. Doesn't make any sense. Do a residency. Everybody proves you live here. There's people in the schools that don't. And the interest on the bank, how ridiculous. This has been 4 months of Mr. Smythe. We're going to look into the interest. We're paying bank fees. Why in the world are you paying bank fees? How many months have I said this? It's just crazy. Have him get something to you in writing tomorrow and send it back to me. The other thing is, I put in, what are Mr. Smite's hours? He has nothing in his contract about summer hours, and he takes summer hours. I did write over to the business office in Ocean Township. The gentleman there says he doesn't get summer hours. He works 8-hour days all year long. Why are we giving our business administrator summer hours? It's not in his contract. Not on my dime, and not on anybody else's. Don't be giving him stuff that's not in his contract. You just don't say, oh, whatever this person gets, everybody gets, I get everything. It's a money grab. I'm glad 2 other people interviewed tonight. I hope you get the letters out again and have them hopefully reapply. It's too bad that you didn't mention that, somebody had already resigned and you'll be getting it out quickly and, keep your level of interest. Yeah, I'm really disappointed with this, the inspector, the ant inspector that came in. Did you know that they came in and that it was infested with interior and exterior? Did the board know that? Or was that being hidden from the board? I'll email you the copy of it tomorrow or tonight, but I just think so many things are just hidden from the board. When the board should have known all about this, why was it being hidden and only known by Mr. Smythe and maybe Mr. Romano? But Mr. Smythe's the one in charge. So can somebody propose to have Mr. Smythe do a summary of what just happened to try and get back some faith in the board? Right now I have no faith. None. We're still not making interest on $12 million in the bank. He's going to call him maybe tomorrow. I've heard it for 3 months.
Do you have anything else?
I think...
Because we are at about 8 minutes.
I think that is it. Thank you for your time. Are you going to propose Mr. Smythe do something, Mr. Adonisio, F&F chair?
Well, your transportation audit idea, I or whoever the new F&F chairman will be, we will bring that back and we will discuss that and see if we can look into that and possibly do something with that. As for bank fees, he already said that he is talking to TD Bank about increasing our interest rate with them because we're already with them. And at previous meetings, I know it was already discussed, the reason why we don't get the high rate that that school in Princeton gets, because we don't get the money allotment the same way they do from their municipality, and we can't go out to them because they're too far away. So we will continue to work on the bank fees and try to get the best we can get. And the transportation audit is a good idea, and we will...
what about the residency?
The residency... Ms. Dyer could speak to, because I believe there has been more done with that, correct?
We did 2 grade levels. The plan that the board put in place was to do 2 grade levels a year.
Did you do them?
Yeah, yes.
What years? What classes did you do?
No.
And then can you, Mr. Smythe, tell us why he didn't go out for bids for the contractors for the trailers? Why did he get quotes? He was over the threshold.
If he was over, then our attorney...
No. Let him answer. Why did he not get bids?
We started off with a co-op contractor that gives us the right to go out to.
Why did you just not go out for bids and have the people come to the property?
We're done.
Is Mr. Smythe going to do a summary of what happened with the trailer situation? Or are you going to try and hide what happened, Mr. Smythe?
Look, the board is not going to hide anything because the board might still have questions. I certainly still have some questions. I submitted an Oprah request myself to see certain things. And when I get that back, I'm going to look at it and see where it goes. And I'm sure other board members have questions, and we're going to, we'll continue to explore it.
Right. Why don't you just do a summary, a timeline of exactly what happened? Wouldn't that be the logical thing to do?
Because that doesn't mean anything. What
Sure it
What does
does.
it matter that we bought the trailers in 2007? It's 2019.
'Cause I
It doesn't
can't-
matter. What matters now is...
It does matter.
No, what matters now
There's
is
no
that
backup.
we voted to remove these things. We're not going to use them. And as a district, we need to move forward, but we also need to
No,
look
you
and
need
make
to
sure we
figure
don't
out
make
why it
mistakes.
got this way. It never should have gotten this way, and Mr. Smythe,
And
you
we're-
should have
we-
him do a
and
timeline.
In F&F, we are going to explore maintenance issues and how we handle our maintenance. That's going to be something that's also addressed. So,
No,
thank
you should
you.
find
Yes,
out what
thank
went
you.
wrong with this. I've
we know
I've
what was
reached
wrong.
out. I've
Thank
reached
you.
out to the controller's office.
Okay.
They should come in and do an
Ms. Br-
investigation. I
your-
know.
your-
I know he's on the list.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Smythe, would you
One
like to?
clarification.
Yes, please.
$38,000 is not over the bid threshold. The bid threshold is $40,000.
And why is that?
However,
Because you are,
qualified purchasing agent. In addition, the $38,000 wasn't based on a quote, it was based on a co-op proposal that is based on a bid through the co-op that we belong to. The additional quotes that were obtained were not in excess of or the award was not in excess of the bid threshold, so there was not a need to go out to bid. They were quoted.
thank you. All right. Anything else from the board? No? Motion to adjourn? Anybody?
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming. Good night.